This mama got drama. We're back again for another podcast episode. First off, we always got to do a round of applause. Because as moms, working moms trying to, chase the dreams for our children, chasing our own dreams, it just takes a lot just to get us here to this moment, and to balance schedules, to get everyone all in one place is such a big feat in itself. So again, round of applause to you lovely ladies for making it today. Pat on the back. We did it. We made it. This Mama Got Drama is just that safe space for moms to come and share stories, really just have a place to laugh, to cry if we need to vent a little bit. And it's not just for mamas, it's for the whole village, grandmas, aunties, daddies. You too are a part of this whole conversation. So we are here today. I'm LadyRAY. My co-host is here, the lovely Dreena Gonzalez.
Hi, I'm Dreena Gonzalez. And I think it's funny that we always start off the show expressing how it's exciting that we're even here. Because I swear, we go back and forth and we're like, all right, this day, and then something comes up. I'm just grateful that I have a fellow mom to do this show with, and someone I love and admire, because I don't know if anyone else would understand it like you do.
I'm sending all the love and admiration right back to you, and also to our guest who's here with us today. The lovely Ashara Ekundayo is here with us today, and I could introduce you with so many different titles because you do so much. I mean, of course, you're a mom, you're a mompreneur. Let's put that out there. You're an artist, all about healthy balance and healing lifestyle, and then also being real active in the community. But tell the folks a little bit about yourself. I've covered a lot, but I'm sure there's some areas that you want to focus on too.
Well, I wanted to say thank you for inviting me to hang out with you all for a minute and just kind of wax on the mama life, because it's been a long time. So indeed, my name is Ashara Ekundayo. My mother named me. That's my real name. I've had to discuss that over the years. But what's your real name? I'm like, that's the name.
That's Ashara.
Okay, that's the name. I'm an artist and a curator, cultural theologian, social entrepreneur. I do a lot of different things, world traveler, and someone who is working on what balance is, or what it really feels like. Because I think as Black women, and definitely as Black mamas, we are expected to and do, rise to the occasion of doing all the things all the time. And, there's this old song from this group Arrested Development called Mama's Always on Stage. For real, that's what it feels like all the time. So definitely giving ourselves a big up for getting here and taking the time to arrive, whatever it is we had to do to spend this time together and just check in with each other. So that's what's up. Thank you.
And not only that, you talked about being on stage. I even had one of those moments the other day where my daughter literally was just like, "So mom, what you ain't got nothing next on a song, no dance, no nothing." Those moments where you're like, I just performed the whole set. Hold on, can I get a minute?
Trying to get an encore already.
Right.
Really? It's like, can I get a minute? Can I get a breath?
Okay. And this is something we like to do at the beginning of almost every podcast, is talk about something new our kids are doing. Of course, your kids, like you mentioned, are grown, but I'm sure there's probably something new that they're up to, or something new that they're out there doing. We're going to share, some new things our kids are doing. Mine are little, so the new things are every day. My daughter, who is getting ready to be 2 in December, her new thing now is that she's pretty much putting together full-on sentences. I turned around the other day, I'm like, okay, look at you. Put the noun and the verb. Okay, I see you. And then the other new thing that they're both doing is that they are currently apparently just trying to figure out how far they can jump from one piece of furniture to the next piece of furniture. So they're going further. I mean, my heart is beating up out of my chest. These people are doing I caught one of them getting ready to do a full-on trust fall. I'm like, don't trust that couch like that. And then my son, his new thing right now is that he and I should enjoy this moment because he really is attached to me right now. So I literally trying to get over to the call had to mommy has to work for a minute, and he was full on laying on the ground. And I was like, whoa, I haven't seen one of those in a while. So
Mm.
it's a lot of new stuff going on over here. How about you, Dreena? You got something new going on?
It's funny you say that. Like I think during those moments of like the attachment, it just feels at times overwhelming, although you just feel that love and you feel just needed. But I miss that stage. So I had like a realization just a couple days ago. I took my boys, who are now 8 and 10, to the park, and they were so excited to go to the park, but it was like, wow, are my kids too big to be at the park? And I felt really like, I know that sounds crazy, but it's just that there was so many little ones and they were running around and, being active kids. And I just was like, watch out for the other ones. And I don't know, it just felt like weird because I'm so used to taking them to the park, and with the COVID, we haven't been able to really go out and do those type of things. So we're starting to get back into a normal groove of just like everyday things. And I had a moment. I was like, my babies are not my babies anymore. And I kind of felt sad about that. It made me feel a little like some type of way inside. And although I embrace this stage that they're at, because it's really awesome just having conversations with them and still seeing the world through their young eyes, but it made me a little sad. So I miss those days of having little ones.
Now it sounds like you just have to strap on the helmet and take them to a bigger park, one of the parks.
Yes. But it was just a sad moment for me, and I obviously I let them have their fun, and I didn't want to like say anything to them, but I sat in the car after they went inside and was like, wow, we're really at this point now where I don't have little ones anymore. Now we're like transitioning, and I got to move forward with them. But it's hard as a mom to go through these stages where you like, I remember being at the stage you're at and thinking, oh, this is a lot, but then you don't realize how much you're going to miss it when they start to get older. And I'm sure Ashara has sons older, right? You were saying. So
yeah, you are going to miss it. You're going to miss it. So enjoy it, even though I definitely remember the park situation where it's like, oh, they're too big to be at the little's park. And my older son was a skater boy, so he pretty quickly got into going to the skateboard park. And there's little people, teenagers, and grown adults at the skate park.
Yes.
But
my hubby.
Yeah. He's a skater boy. So, you can always that's one of the outdoor activities where the generations cross,
Yes.
You see little people trying to figure out how to stay on the board, and big kids who are like just jumping over them.
Yes.
Almost. It's like, just stand right there, don't move, and I'm going to jump over you.
Yes.
So, yeah, I remember that. But you know what? I have granddaughters.
Aww.
So, and they're not little anymore, but I remember just enjoying holding them. A lot of my friends didn't have children, or they're just now having children. And so, I've been somebody's mom since I was a teenager. And so I was a teenage mom, and it was, it was hard on that end. It's really cool on this end.
Yeah.
It's cool that my older son and I are only 18 years apart.
Love it.
Right? So we kind of grew up together. We have a different kind of friendship because we're only 18 years, apart. And my younger son, I had him when I was 23. So, and I'm 53. So that tells you.
They look so good. I would have never ever guessed.
Yeah. So it's like that. But I remember I still have stories of them playing and then being little, and then now having the gift of having grandchildren and them being little. I mean, my granddaughters are 11, 9, and 7 now.
Yeah.
And so the oldest one, she was born in my house.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
All 3 of them were born at home.
Was that a plan? Okay.
Yes. My son and his partner at the time, they planned to have their children at home, had done all of the little classes, had friends who were doulas, had the little kit, the whole 9. We got the blow up mattress, filled it up with water and heated it up. It was absolutely planned. And, you don't know what's going to happen. Baby going to come when they want to come. But I remember the smell, and I remember them being little. And she used to say, you know, they call me Go-Go. She would say, Go-Go, let me hold you, which meant pick me up. And she would say, let me hold you. Let me hold you. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
God.
My
She's
daughter's doing that right now. Whenever she's like,
11 and can't be bothered right now.
Okay.
Do you hear me? She cannot be bothered. It's like I have to like just text her on the iPad and go, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, yeah, real
short.
Yeah, real short, real unattached, just, you know, antisocial, and just
then you got to come up with like 5 other questions to try to get
just to keep the conversation going. I'm like, really? Do you just don't want to talk to me? Or
I think it's like maybe the age, because I'm having that same issue. Well, I shouldn't say issue, but that same situation with my 10-year-old, and even now the 8-year-old. Like, just how was your day at school? Good.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed though, when I get them into like more of a, I guess, a casual setting, like we're not driving in the car, like they're home and they're ready for bed, they become a little bit more conversational. But it's like pulling teeth. I want to have a conversation with them, and I'm noticing this change now too. Yeah, it's one of the things I'm going through. I have to adapt.
It's like back to what Ashara said about being on stage. You have to like crack a joke and break the ice, and then come with another joke, and
just pulling. Like it's just on and on and on. How do I want to keep engaging you? Could you please talk back to me? Ask me a question. How was your day, Go-Go? What did you do today? No, nothing. Anyway, like
it's tough. Mamahood is tough, especially all the different stages, and you know, you just never know. Every stage is different, you know, with parenthood, and I'm sure grandkids, and it's a lot.
It actually doesn't end. So, you know, you always think, oh, you know, they'll get big and they'll go out and they'll be on their own, and that actually never happens.
Never happens.
I always kind of had that moment of like trying to understand those parents that are like, we're only in this for 18 years, and I'm like,
yeah, it's not true.
Right.
I mean, maybe. I mean, there's some, you know, social, cultural kind of thing in the United States where you push your kid out at 18 or 17. They supposedly go off to college, and then they can take care of themselves. But you saw what happened. I mean, over the years, your kids come back and live in your house.
Yeah.
There's a reason why my granddaughter was born in my house. It's because my son came back to live in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Then the girlfriend's here, and now there's kids. Oh, really? There's kids? So you're making babies in my house? That's what happened. That's how that went down. So yeah, I mean.
So with you being at so many different, you've experienced so many different stages in motherhood. And you know, you spoke a little in the beginning about balance. Like, what is your, I guess, your biggest advice for moms who may be struggling with balance at all different stages in motherhood right now, and being a grandmother?
Yeah, you know, it's hard to get a minute for yourself. And I think for me, what I had to learn pretty early on was to, one, celebrate or at least recognize when you actually are having a success, you know, with something, and finding a way to make really what might seem like a mundane moment or a mundane thing a celebration and a moment for yourself. Yeah. So, you know, if I could maybe do something like soak my feet, you know what I mean, while I was, you know, locking hair, because my sons both had long hair, and, you know, they had locks for a while. You know, watch the game, soak your feet, and do hair on Sunday afternoon, kind of thing. Like, figure out something that's about being kind to yourself. And if the only thing you can do that day is make yourself a cup of coffee in the morning, then celebrate that cup of coffee that you made for yourself. Because that's the whole world. At that moment, it's just like everybody's got their ritual for their tea, right? Their coffee, or the thing that that's self-care. And if that's the only moment you get for yourself, stick to it, you know, but just acknowledge that I'm doing something for myself. I'm being kind to myself. And maybe tomorrow I can do 2 things. Yeah. But just finding the joy in the mundane was something that was really helpful for me at the time. Yeah.
And actually sipping the coffee while it's hot.
Ooh, yeah, like make it and then put it down and then you come back like, what do I do with that coffee? And now it's all
right. Because I've gotten through the whole thing like, oh my goodness, I'm actually doing this. And, you know, and then you get there, you're like, wait a minute, I never even, I hear you taking that moment. And I think that's why it's so important, like Dreena said, just in the beginning of this, for us to give that round of applause and that gratitude in that moment of like, we made it here, because this, you know, it's a podcast, but at the end of the day, like, this is our safe space that we're trying to create for, you know, for the village to come and share some moments. So, you know, you talked a little bit about being a young mother, and we talked a little bit about how you also are active in the community and a curator and with art, but how were you able to infuse that into your kids as well, like bringing art into the household?
Yeah, let me tell you. My kids they got dragged to every poetry venue that I was curating at the time, international film festivals, art galleries, museums. You know, I remember at a certain point, like, I'm not ever going to another poetry reading and you can't make me go. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, where I go, you go. You're not staying home. So, you know, they got, you know, they had to share their mother with the community. You know, so when you're an activist, organizer, and definitely if you have a public, you know, kind of facing job like I did at the time I lived in Denver, Colorado, you know, my kids are, you know, they were born there. My older son still lives there. My granddaughters live there. But yeah, you kind of, I want to say artists begat artists, artists make artists. And they might have that time where they rebel against that and say, I don't want it, but they will become that person. So, you know, they appreciate it, I think, when they get older. And sometimes, like my kids in the neighborhood, most of their friends didn't have anyone like exposing them to that. They never went, you know, downtown to the arts festival or to the symphony or to the theater or any of that. And we did that. But I was raised by two artists.
Right.
Again, artists make artists.
Yes.
Artists make artists, and you do what you see. You don't kind of do what somebody tells you to do. You do what you see.
Yes.
So I was taken to the museums when I was a child. My father just turned 81. He's still a painting practicing artist. He paints every day still.
Nice.
You know, he lived in New York City when I was a kid. So we used to go to the park. We went to the theater. We went, you know, we went to all kinds of creative places. So my kids have traveled all around the world with me.
Wow.
And I was someone who was like, you know what, you know, we're gonna have this little credit card. Well, this is some righteous debt, and I'm gonna go into debt to take my children with me to the continent of Africa, to international film festivals in Europe. They're gonna go with me, and but my kids also went to college and graduate school with me too. So there was a lot going on. I mean, their father was around for a while. I mean, as like in the same household. And then when we got divorced, I mean, they still had access to their father. So, you know, when they would actually wild out and I mean, really act a fool, you know, when boys, y'all will see. Yeah, where they think they're going to flash on me. It's like, oh, really? Yeah, I would call their dad and be like, you better come over here and get your son before I bust him in the head with this. Really, and he would come and be like, I'll be right there. I'll be right there. But I'm just, they had a different experience than their friends in the neighborhood growing up, you know, even with being exposed to fine art or so-called Black art, because they'd come into the house and go, Miss Ashara, how come y'all ain't got no regular art on the wall? And I'd be like, what do y'all think is regular art?
Right.
Exactly.
What do you think is? I was like, we got art with Black people in it because we're Black people. I don't need to show the mountainscape. I don't, you know, so that's what we have. And that's what's important to us. And that's what we value. And so just to speak about our cultural legacy as valuable and as something to hold on to and something to acquire, like land, art and land are the two things that acquire value, and everything else depreciates in value, including those old rims that you think you need on your car that is not worth the money that you paid an hour after you bought it. So
Right.
art and land, I was taught that, and I taught that, and so yeah, my kids are both artistic, creative, world traveler, activist, organizer, brilliant men.
It's
Mind you,
amazing.
mind you, people pay lots and lots and lots of money to get their kids in these private schools to get them access to the types of experience you were giving them. And that's amazing that you were able to do it with your children and be right there with them. I mean, of course, like you said, there was probably those moments where they're like, "Ma, really? We're going to another,
Yeah,
really?"
yeah,
But,
yeah.
but I'm sure that now, like you said, they're these amazing men, and they're grateful for those times that the experience that they were able to have with you. You quickly mentioned that you went to school with them. That you had your kids with you in school.
Well, like I said, I had my first son when I was 18, and then I didn't go to college until I was 21. So he was 3.
Right.
And I was a freshman at the City College downtown, Metropolitan State College of Denver. And I took him to class with me. His dad was a student too. So I would take him to class. He'd sit here on the floor, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, sit down. The teachers were like, okay, you
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
like, you coming to school with your baby, you coming to school with your baby. He knows how to, excuse me, he knows how to sit and, entertain himself for an hour, 50 minutes. And then I'd take him to his, sometime to his dad, who was a photography major, and he'd be asleep on the floor in the dark room. It's so yeah, our kids went to college with us, and then they both ended up going to graduate school with me as well. And so I was a graduate student who had a full-time job and 2 children and trying to, do graduate work. And my comrades were not parents, and they were all skiing on the weekends and taking trips. And I wasn't doing that. I was doing homework and going to work. And yeah, so yeah, my kids are, they've had a pretty diverse experience of being with 2 parents who are very different, but who are both very creative.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. So amazing. I mean, it kind of, I mean, not only I know at that time it's like you think they're little and they're just eating their peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but some of that information soaked in. Some of those experiences soaked in, and they totally picked up on watching you being studious and watching you getting things done. And so, what an amazing modeling that you were doing for them at such an early age, right? And it kind of takes me back to, and we joke about this. My mom worked in corporate America when I was very young, and she, we had to commute over, 2 hours to get to where we had to be. And so I would be asleep in her office, and, the vice president of the company would let me sleep in there, do my homework in there. And it's because my mom worked so much that they were like, oh, of course your daughter can come. She's well behaved, she and there were times where I was doing people's job. My mom would be like, you're doing their job. Get over here. You're doing this. Come on.
Okay.
She was a manager of a records department. So I would get in there, and I thought it was kind of cool back then. I'm dating myself now. It was like microfilm and microfiche and all that stuff. Yeah. And I was there in a dark room, like you said. And it was kind of something fun to do. But, it's amazing when we think back to our childhood and then think about our kids, like how they're already being exposed to like daily life and education and the workforce, right? Because especially now with COVID, folks are working at home. My one of my best friends, she's like my sister, she posted up a picture of her daughter mimicking her on her, she's got 3 computer screens, because that's what she sees, right? And so it's like your office and your kid's toy room are like feet away from each other. So they're totally immersed in this work, school, home life, right? And it's a whole new space that we're in right now.
For sure. I was bringing my kids to the studio when we were in the studio, so they know when the mic cracks. So they're kind of trained at home, but when they were doing remote learning, there were times I'm like, turn off your mic, because I'd be in the background, doing my thing. And so it's fun. It's fun that they get, I mean, these are memories, like we were saying, that they are going to look back on, and like that's times being in the classroom with mom, or the time that we were in the radio studio, and or mom was not letting me in because she was doing a podcast. So it's fun memories. Actually, I lived in Denver for 4 years.
Did you?
I love Denver. Yeah, it's such a beautiful city.
Why were you? It is a beautiful city. Why were you there?
I did radio out there for 4 years.
Oh, okay. Good.
I moved out there and did radio. But yeah, so when you're like, oh, Denver, Colorado, I lived there for 4 years. I had such a good experience out there.
Oh, good.
Who knows? You guys could have already crossed paths in some way, shape, or form.
I did community radio for about 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in Boulder, and I love radio. It's hands down my favorite. It's my favorite genre, my favorite medium. TV is fun and all, but I really love radio. I love kind of just having your own little space and kind of managing the environment and the output, and particularly if you're like doing indie radio and no one's telling you have this playlist that you have to follow or anything like that. But yeah,
it's such a different space now, because before it was like, just audio, right? And you could be that voice with whatever sound effects and the music. And now it's like there's a video component, and it's a whole new space now. And I'm not knocking it at all. It's interesting to see how it has evolved.
Oh, definitely.
What do you think about the media Clubhouse? What do you think about that? Those kind of like live podcasts, really, is what it is.
Yeah.
Clubhouse makes me feel old. And it's
There's a lot of mamas on there. There's a lot of mama spaces, parent spaces.
Yes. And I feel like for me personally, it's just when there's so many different just social media outlets now that I can't really keep up with all of it. And then so when I'm like, especially for me, like with some younger colleagues on the station that I'm currently on, they frequent Clubhouse, they use it. And I think there's so many great things about it, but I feel sometimes like I just can't keep up. So I don't know what the best form of, like what the best social media outlet is for. It's hard. It's hard to keep up with all of it.
It's so much to learn, right? Because it's like, and it's not only like, okay, you have to learn the new interface, but then you got to figure out, okay, well, what is the stage? And then does someone bring me up? And there's all kinds of different politics. Like, do I just jump in a room, or do I, so there's a lot you have to figure out. And but I do think it's a really cool space.
Yes.
That was needed, right? Because it's giving folks this opportunity to come in and connect on an audio level, and really just have a space to put some ideas out there and just see, what folks are thinking. So it's do you use it?
Yeah, I was gonna ask her.
Earlier this year, I was really into it. Like, January, February, March, I was really into it. There were a lot of artist rooms. I mean, really artists dominated the Clubhouse. I mean, internationally. So visual artists dominated the conversations. And once the arts venues started opening back up in the country, the visual artists mostly left Clubhouse.
Right.
All these cool live performances that were happening. They were doing like plays on Clubhouse. All these different DJs, like just playing stuff for hours, or people going in and doing listening rooms. Lots of conversations on the art sector, the visual art sector, and museums and reckoning. And those conversations have gone away. But who's up in there now are the folks talking about NFTs, digital art, non-fungible tokens, and that seems to still be there. But I was just, for the sake of our conversation here as mamas, there's like a lot of parenting, a lot of mama talks that happen in Clubhouse that I've not joined, by the way. But
our producer just put in the chat for folks that can't see it that they did the Lion King music live on Clubhouse. I mean,
I listened to it. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it's just
brilliant.
Amazing. Yeah. All the ways that folks were able to pivot and shift because we couldn't have that physical contact. And it's amazing the technology that we have now, that we have that capability to still be connected and put on a full production. It's like
they did auditions for the vagina monologues.
Oh wow.
Clubhouse, and then they actually did the production. But people from all over the world were like auditioning.
You listen into the auditions?
Yeah. So they did auditions first. They had all kinds of poetry readings. It was just really robust and brilliant at the beginning, where somebody had to like invite you to come in, and you couldn't like direct message anyone yet, and you had to go to their Instagram, and people really got into how many friends or how many followers, and I just didn't care about that. But
yeah,
my sister, Oh, she's still way in, and she's, became an influencer and has thousands of followers, and I can't even get a conversation with her because she's so busy. She's like, "Oh, I'm on Clubhouse." I'm like, "Okay, goodbye." I can't, like, hello. No, I'm on Clubhouse. What are you talking about on Clubhouse? It's like October.
Yes. Yes. I had no idea that there was that many things popping off on Clubhouse.
It was cracking for a while,
Yeah,
So background sound while you're doing your mama stuff, cleaning house and feeding kids and whatever it is you got to do.
Yeah.
You said earlier, and you kind of touched on it quickly again, is, just still, it's kind of that ongoing, like, trying to find that balance, trying to figure that out. Are there, as we kind of close out, like, any maybe lasting tips that you want? You already gave us a really good gem that we need to remember on the daily, but, just balancing, because you started a huge artistic space and, small business space for folks to be able to come in and get the education, get access to funding and things like that. All while being a mom. And prior to that, obviously your kids are much older at that time, but is there something you can share as far as, balancing all that and wanting to chase after bigger dreams?
I think I would say, don't push your kids away from you. Like, don't give them the impression that their wild ideas are, like, not interesting to you. Just allow them to keep being able to, like, come and, as I say, get lap time from you. My kids are 30 and 35 years old, and they both still need lap time. They just, and my younger son and I, it's interesting, he and I relate to each other very much. We speak to each other like we're both 30 versus that I'm 23 years older than him. So we've always had a very honest kind of conversation around relationships, his thoughts around girls and his choices around music and why his pants are sagging down here and blah, 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 whatever. But, he's got these really grand ideas, and I didn't think that he would walk so closely towards his artistic interest, but he did. And so it's like, I didn't want him to, even though it wasn't something that I really was into, I didn't want him to think I wasn't interested in it. So I would just say, don't push them away. Like, they got some wild idea. Continue to be as interested in it now as you are when they're 4. I love talking to a 4-year-old. A 4-year-old is really able to articulate their thoughts and put them together in a way that you're like, you can really understand them. If you ask a 4-year-old why the sky is blue, they will come up with an answer for you. And I think some of it is they're making up some of the stuff. They may be putting together something they heard. But when you're 4, you're still, like, close enough to the other side, the side of, like, I came through the portal. I came, through the universe to meet you, and they still remember some of those answers. So I'm as interested in my 35-year-old's dreams and ideas as I am in his daughter's 7-year-old dreams.
Right.
Like, what do you got for me? What do you got? It's like, it's a gift if you get to be, you don't have to be the mama, but if you get to have a relationship with a child over a long period of time, where maybe you're a really great auntie or a great zaddy or, a great godparent. You don't have to be the mama, but, we're talking about being able to recognize that we all need mothering.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do for our sister friends too, right? Siblings, right? Sometimes I just need to be mothered.
Right.
It's not necessarily that you're my kid, but, my mom has passed, and, sometimes I'd give anything to be able to talk to my mom again. So sometimes I just got to go to my sister friends and be like, remind me of what my mother would have said, or, just hold space for me as a sister friend who remembers what it feels like to be mothered. If you're not, someone who had a baby or adopted a baby or, takes care of a child, that's really been good for me.
Yeah.
Because there are times when you don't want to talk to your kid. There might be long stints of time when you're like, I just can't stand you. I've had that. Like, I just can't stand you, or I can't deal with your drama right now. But come back.
Yeah.
Come back to it, because what a gift, you know.
Yeah. What a
That's
gift.
beautiful. I feel like I'm gonna cry.
I know. I'm just trying to soak it all in. Just let it,
Y'all on that end. See, I'm at this end. I'm at this, like I said, I'm the grandmother. So
Yeah.
I get to say yes all the
Right,
time.
right.
I don't say yes still to both of my sons, but to the granddaughters, they get yes all the time.
Right.
And so that's a different kind of mothering too. It might be like, well, I don't eat hot Cheetos. I think they're really bad for you, but let's go ahead and get some anyway.
Yeah.
Just so that you have the experience
Right.
of your grandmother saying yes to you.
Right.
So I think that's some of what I think is most loving and caring about the mothering aspect is that someone said yes to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone said yes to you. Someone said, come here and sit on my lap.
Right.
Right. It's okay. Let me hold you. Let me hold you.
Yeah. And I
It's a
keep
different
seeing
type of mothering. Yeah. I see that with my kids and, they're my mom and I'm like, it's just a whole different relationship. And I really, truly love that for them. It's great because as a mother, the pressure you're under and just the things we go through when they're young. And then to be able to see her at that place of like just a different stage in life and in peace and just to fully enjoy her grandkids. It's just, it makes me happy for them and for her.
Yeah. I mean, you get to explain some things about their parent to them. When they're like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, when your dad was a little boy, he used to do this, or he used to say this. So maybe some of that comes from that. Or when they're not having a good time with each other, you can even explain. It's like, yeah, let me tell you, he did that when he tried that little thing you try, and he tried that too. And you can go over there and talk to him about standing in the corner with 4 books.
Right. My mom
Go
loves
over there and talk to him about that. It was like, you can go ahead and try it, but you need not try me. I'm not the one to try.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ask your father. It's like, what happened when you tried that? So you got that institutional memory, you got that history. It's like, yeah.
My mom enjoys all those moments, plus the moments where my daughter, who is already back talking, she's like, oh, she's like, fun with that one. I'm like, oh my God.
Or here's what gets real fun. You'll go to the grocery store, you take your kids or your grandkids or whatever to the grocery store, you see some other child falling out on the floor in the grocery store, and you got this whole conversation that happens and says, don't try it.
Right.
Try it, because you will not be the kid rolling on the floor right there, because I'm a Black mama and I will snatch you up. So you will be humiliated in this store. Don't try that. They're like, ooh. I'm like, no.
I remember being pregnant and like, not like just, oh my God, this whole experience everything is so new, and being at the grocery store and seeing this mom, the baby is just throwing stuff in the cart and she's in her own world trying to figure out what to do. And she looks and realizes like, oh no. So she takes the stuff out and he full on screaming, crying, rah, rah, rah. She picks him up, full cart, and just walks out. Silence. And I was like, oh my God, he's about to get and left the cart there. And I was like, I have to be prepared for that. Like, to just in that moment, shut it down or figure out what, you know what I mean? And I just remember having that moment of like, okay, you got to get ready. Because I grew up with younger cousins and siblings and all that. And of course, come from the same type of upbringing and similar mindset that you were talking about, Ashara. But when you do it yourself, it's that moment of like, okay, I'm a mom now. This is a whole other.
That was my biggest lesson in motherhood.
I said, or even when you realize you've turned into your mother. Like,
yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Wait, did I just say that?
Yeah.
You just said that.
Okay.
You just
I was going to say my biggest lesson in motherhood was definitely eating my words of my kids will never do that. My kids will never, because that's been the most humbling experience because they have.
Humility is the key. It is the lesson. You think you know something.
Mm-hmm.
And your children, or the children that you get to steward,
right?
They are the teachers.
Oh yes.
They are the teachers. You are not the teacher. And it is absolutely humbling, and it ought to be. It ought to be.
Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself real quick.
I don't know if I shared this with you already, Dreena, but I remember this mom, we were having a mother's meeting, and she shared with us that her niece walked up to her sister and looked her in the eye and said, because I guess she was reprimanding her, getting her on her about something. And she looked at her and she said, "I used to be your mother." The 3-year-old said that to the mom. And I was like, we need to quiet for a moment and just soak that in for a second.
Yes.
She came here.
And I was like,
to be the child.
Goosebumps right now, just thinking about that moment. Like,
wow.
My younger son said the same thing to me when he was 4. We were in South Carolina down on St. Helena Island at a healing ritual. And there were all these kids and all these Black and Indigenous folks who had come from all over the world to be in this ceremony for a week. And he was having this great time. And he came over and he was like, "Mom, don't you remember, like, this is like when we were in Africa." I hadn't taken him to Africa yet. I said, he said, "Don't you remember when I was your dad and you were my daughter and we were in Africa? Don't you remember that?" And I was like, "Is it just like that?" He said, "It's just like that." He said, "Yeah, it's great." And he ran off to go play. I have never forgotten that. I have never forgotten that. So it's like, you know, this idea of like spirits coming again and again and us being together. There are certain spirits that you travel with and you incarnate into bodies and you have different relationships with them. And, you know, I happen to be one of those people who believes in reincarnation. I happen to, you know, believe that was a true statement, you know, and because he said that, and because I believed it, and he was 4 and now he's 30, we have had this different relationship, because there are times when he says things to me that are like, "I'm sorry, I'm the mama." He's like, but I remember, see what I'm saying? My spiritual practice like lets me know. When he was maybe about 7 or 8, he started calling me by my first name from time to time. And people would go, is he calling you Ashara? He's like, and they're like, "Why is he calling you that?" I said, "Well, one, it's my name. It's my name. And he can totally call me by my name, you know." And the other is, I remember being a kid and like being at a mall and finding these children who had lost their parent. And when I asked them what their parents' name, they didn't know. My mommy's name is Sweetheart. My daddy's name is Baby. And they really didn't know their parents' name. It was like, so my children have always known my name. They're totally welcome to use my name. But yeah, that one, the 30-year-old, he's done some real crazy things that only someone who believes that they're older than you would even try.
Right.
You know, it's like, so yeah, anyway, you know, you get to have your relationship with your kids, right? And they're all different and they all have their different way of relating to you. And all I can say is like, keep on listening to their dreams and their ideas, you know, even if it's like, that's not gonna work. Just that's a good idea. But just be like,
you got to get through that one to get to the next one. It's gonna work.
You got to get through that one to get to the next one. It's like, well, that one didn't work. Well, let's try another one.
Yeah.
Be courageous and be curious, and your courage and your curiosity will, like, you'll win some and you'll lose some.
Right.
You know? But if you don't try, you don't know. And you know, so we just got to remind our kids of that. And one day, maybe they'll be lucky enough to steward some children, you know, and have relationships with children. I'm not saying you have to have children at all. You know, I mean, I was not the kid grew up saying, "I'm going to grow up and have some kids," and I wasn't that kid. I wasn't at all. But you know, I do. My younger sister doesn't have any children, and she knew at probably 13. She's like, "I'm not having kids." So, you know, it was all like, of my siblings, I'm the only one who actually had children. So they were like, yeah, Ashara did that. She was firstborn. She did that. Everybody, you got a grandkid, you got a great grandkid, you got to have some nieces, some nephews. Ashara did that. So I was the one in the family who had kids. And, you know, nobody was happy that I was a pregnant 18-year-old, but they're all pretty happy now.
Yeah.
I mean, kids know
celebrate that. I'm sure you do it on the daily, but I want to celebrate that and give you flowers for that, because and that's encouragement that I needed to hear today. So I appreciate you sharing your story, and I'm sure there's, you know, someone, a mom, an auntie who's taking over, you know, some kids, or a grandmom out there that might need to hear that you got through college, grad school, took your kids around the world. They had these amazing experiences, and now they're grown-ups who are now, you know, you're able to have this relationship with your grandchildren. So I appreciate everything you shared today. I know that we could talk for hours upon hours, but because we're all, you know, juggling so much, we do have to wrap it up. But man, I think we just close with saying thank you.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure just hearing your words of wisdom and speaking with you, even for this short amount of time. So hopefully at some point later in the future, we can have you back, because I feel like there's just so much more knowledge that you can spread. I mean, I don't know about you, Raina, but my heart just feels like at a whole different level than when I came into the conversation earlier. Just you really filled my cup today, and probably for the rest of the month. A lot of wisdom. Thank you so much.
That's good. We get to do that for each other.
We might want to hear about that home birth. That might be the one that we talk about next time.
Oh, yeah. Three children born at home. Not only were they born at home, they were born at home with all of their grandparents and their great grandparents sitting downstairs drinking coffee, waiting for them.
Wow,
that's an amazing experience.
My granddaughters have 2 grandmothers, 2 grandfathers, 2 great grandfathers, a great they are the luckiest children I have ever met, and they were all sitting downstairs waiting for them, waiting for her to arrive. All of them. Yeah, so
that's beautiful.
I love it. We gotta end there on that beautiful. Okay. This mama got drama. It says the drama in the heading, but man, we have some beautiful moments on this podcast, and this is one of them. So thank you again. Join us for the next one, and you know, stay in touch with us. Find us at thismamagotdrama@gmail.com. If you got a question, a tip, maybe a story that you want to share about your home birth, go ahead and hit us up at This Mama Got Drama. But thank you again, Ashara. We appreciate you.
Dreena. Thank you, Ashara.
Be well, mamas. See you later.